November 4th, I think, 2019. Bringing some barrels in to make sure there's lots of reserve water in here for when the cold weather comes. Just figured I'd try heating this one up quick. I switched the pump out of the big thermal mass tank and stuck it in this fresh barrel. It's kind of cool because you can actually see as the coil's pumping heat into the barrel, you can actually see the heat come in and rise. I don't know if you can see that very well on camera. Yeah, I think you can actually. Always interesting to watch well, water in general, but the thermodynamics in water are really interesting. You can actually see that hot water coming in. Not a super fast rate, but it's pretty hot. I burned myself on it a couple times already, so yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. For those who don't know, there's a coil in this stock pot, copper coil, and that sits on a wood stove. It's heated with that, and then we transfer heat to other tanks. Just thought I'd do a quick shot of this. Here's another, maybe a little bit clearer shot. You can see the hot water spilling in and then rising back to the top. Just a quick clip as I'm doing upgrades in the direction of setting this thermal mass up with the convection loop. So this 55-gallon drum on top will be the ballast reservoir that will make sure that this stays topped up so that we always have a circulating loop. I'll explain more when this is fully assembled. Yeah, that's it for now. Anyway, it's sloped and it's got a cleat in it so it can't slide off. And it's sloped because the lip of the barrel otherwise prevents a good portion of water from coming out, so it's sloped up so that most of the water will come out when it's needed. This will be plumbed in to the tank, and it'll basically act to regulate the water level in the convective loop system. So yeah, we'll go into more in the future. Okay, so this is the next night. It's pouring rain out. I'm in the greenhouse. I figured I'd play around a little bit, and I took the output from the coil on the thermal mass and put it into the bottom of the new barrel on top, and wow, that's already mostly warm. And then took the top out of that. I apologize for the horrible focus, and just piped it to backfeed to the top of the tank. So we're pumping out of this tank, out of the bottom, through the intake feed on the pump, through the coil, through the thermal mass to pick up heat, into the bottom of this tank, because I can't go on the top because then we would overflow this whole big tank, and then out the top of this, and the overflow goes into this. We're supposed to go into some really cold weather here starting tonight, and then getting colder over the next few days, down into the upper teens. So I thought I would crank the thermal masses up, jack them all up with some water. Anyway, we got a tremendous amount of water reserved in here, which should help us come through those really cold periods better. Other seasons I've gone through water pretty darn fast during real cold weather, because at that point you're running the stove hard. Sometimes you're getting sunny days, so you have really high temperatures in here, and in order to keep humidity and keep plants watered, you go through quite a bit. Got the big reservoir here, got the 30-gallon barrel there, another 55 full, obviously the 275 thermal mass. The ballast tank for that's another 55. That's probably got like 45 in it with the headspace in the top. And then 2 more barrels over here, 55 each. So those are right top to the brim. So that's another 110. So hopefully that'll help us get through the cold weather a little better this year. Anyway, stay tuned for coming upgrades, and I'm working in the greenhouse here, doing various stove heat insulation related things. But the cows have been bugging out all night. I don't know what they're bugging out about. Of course, I get the camera. This is one of their more quiet moments, believe it or not. So I wonder if maybe this is the farmer across the street manages the cows, so I don't know if maybe he is weaning a calf from a mother or something. But boy, they've been carrying on something fierce. Let's see, it is November 7th or 8th, something like that, 7th I think. Might be 8th. Back inside the greenhouse here. The new greenhouse stove is cranking. We're sitting at like 76 or something like that in here right now. And got a couple of new lights here, LED lights. My friend John, his landlord, didn't like the color of these. And I guess he got white lights to replace them. He gave these to me. These are LED grow lights, supplemental grow lights. So I just threw them in here for now. I'll probably find a better situation for them in here eventually. And I don't know if I've mentioned this in other videos. Pretty sure I have. Eventually I would like to use alternative energy to power some supplemental lighting in here, and we could really accelerate our growth and productivity. But for now, just kind of playing around with bits and pieces that are cheap and free. Got a new stand set up for this 55-gallon drum. This will be the ballast tank for the big tank for the convective loop, and so that way the big tank on the bottom will always stay full of water, so the convective loop can always function properly. And then you know, times when the ram pump can be run, I can refill this ballast tank between, so that the convective loop never runs out and doesn't stop operating. So that's in there. Stove is running like a champ, like a champ. This tank over here is like really warm bath water. You probably actually have to get into that slowly if you got into that as a bath. So that's working out really well. Nice close proximity to the stove. The big thermal mass here is cranking, and I was looping through the upper barrel again. That's probably about 105, 110, somewhere in there degrees right now, full of water. Bottom tank, again, I don't have thermal sensors or anything right now. Working out some issues with that on the Pi, and moving forward with some new architecture regarding the thermal controls. But I would say this is probably about 100 degrees also. This whole tank is full of 100-degree water. So we've got some really nice thermal mass reserve in here now. So it feels good to have this refined down. And now I just wish I had double the greenhouse space. Well, November 12th. First snow. Only about an inch. But winter's here. It's cold out. It's damp out. We got our first snow, and this week is supposed to be pretty cold. So here we go. Of course, inside the greenhouse, we got the stove lit. Rocking along. That heat feels so nice. And you can hear roaring, and in the reflection off the water you can actually see the vibrations that the fire roller is creating. just thought I'd share that little tidbit. Well, stove is firing back up. Cricket just started singing again. Glad to hear him chiming in. November 15th, 2019. Well, here we are in the greenhouse. I know, I apologize, I haven't updated or uploaded a video in a while. Sort of in the process of transition from summer season to winter season, and I got a million things on my plate, so anyway, I apologize for not checking in more frequently. I pruned up the avocado here, and been peeking over here. Looks like the lemon tree is starting to bloom, so it's time to give that a little more room. Got these two LED lights from a friend of mine's landlord. Thank you, Harlan, much appreciated. So they're 64 watt panels, and they're working okay. Just kind of playing with them for now. Turmeric is still cranking, and what else? Ginger is doing okay. The other ginger that I brought in is starting to kick back in, or getting ready to. Sweet potatoes came up through here from some of the vines I left in the bottom, so that's cool. Those kind of self-propagated. They're doing better up here on this bench where things are a little warmer this year. What else? A couple other citrus trees. These are more of the Meyer lemon trees. They're doing pretty good. They're also glad to have their feet warmer and all. What else? We got thermal mass going here, pumping. I'm going to do a whole video on that, so I'm not going to get into that too much. The big thing that inspired me to throw this video up was this recent podcast that just came out today from Joe Rogan. Paul Stametz is on again. And if you haven't heard the Joe Rogan, Paul Stametz podcasts, and if you haven't heard Paul Stametz on YouTube, The Future is Fungi is one of his talks, but he has several others that are absolutely excellent, pertaining to fungi, our natural ecosystem, our past, and our future, and our relation to fungi, and how important that is. And this podcast, I'm only about 22 minutes in, but I'm so excited and inspired, I just had to share this. Anybody who watches my channel, man, you gotta go check this podcast out. This guy will blow your mind with some of the interesting science. This is breaking stuff. Specifically pertaining to honeybees and fungi. I highly recommend you go check this out. That's all I'm going to say for now. It's Joe Rogan Experience number 1385, Paul Stametz, and it was just uploaded today. Go check it out, listen to it, and I would love to hear your comments, thoughts, and feedback after you hear it, if you have the interest. If not, that's fine too. But this is excellent information, and it's the latest cutting-edge science regarding fungi and bees, and so much more. So check it out. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.